I'm just going to start making a sketch, right? And I'll just do this. Okay, so that's the basic shape of what it's going to look like, right? And then I like using geometric constraints a lot, which are these. So a geometric constraint, I'm going to make this line and this line at the same place. They're collinear, so it'll always stick to that line. This one and that point will be on the same point. Also the midpoint there, this line and that point. And then I'll put it in, and I'm going to set an offset and make sure this thing's always, say 2.5. And we'll put another one on this side, 2.5. All right, now my sketch is fully constrained with just that. And then so this will always stick to the end of this line. So as you can see, if this line ever grows, if that skeleton line ever grows, it's going to bring this out. That's one great thing about geometric constraints, is it'll just stick it to that line. And the same here. So if they move, it'll move with it. And then, yeah, I might as well make a box in the middle like I did before. So if I make a line here, yes?
Their team wants to hear on Skype. They're all logged in right now.
They're following you right now, but they don't.
They just can't hear
They're not hearing
anything.
anything? Okay.
If you don't mind using that right now, that'd be awesome.
Give me a sec.
Thanks.
Let's just pray this works. And they already added me as a contact, right?
I think so. They were on last time with you.
Okay. Who are they?
Nico, Leone, and X.
They said they figured it out. They're listening to you some other way.
Through the Tanberg?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that sounds good. I guess I'm just going to hold up. Are there any questions up to this point, what we're doing? Jeff?
If we all go in on separate computers and create new parts and then do all the geometry waving, it doesn't show up right now, but later, is it going to have a problem with us all trying to save it, or how are we supposed to do that?
I didn't understand everything you said, but this might be an answer to you. It would be best to have one person open the assembly and then create the 5 parts.
And then you can edit the parts separately.
Yeah, then I would even have, yeah, so then everyone can open the assembly as well and then wave down parts for their individual models.
You're editing the parts, so does a wave geometry count as part of the parts, or is it part of the assembly?
I don't know, but it's probably both. So it might be best to have one person wave down all the geometry.
And then afterwards, when you're editing the parts separately, even if you have the assembly file open, as long as you just save the parts.
Yes, and so the way you should do that, so since I'm in displayed mode, I can only see my part and not the assembly. If I hit save, it's only going to save my part. It's not going to save the assembly. However, if I'm on the assembly view, right, and so now the assembly is the work part, if I hit save, it's going to save the work part and all modified components, including all of the subparts. But if I'm in this work mode, then the best thing to do is say File, Save Work Part Only. So now, since the work part is the part, not the assembly, it's only going to save that part. So yeah, be real careful so you don't overwrite someone else's assembly. But basically, once you get all the geometry waved down, everyone could just work in their individual parts, and then one person, and then once you have it all saved and you put it back up into the assembly, it should just modify all of them, right? Any other questions up to now? Okay, so I'm just going to keep working on, actually I'll just do it here, this sketch here. Hello, can you hear me? Hello? That's creepy. Hello? Okay, we're going to skip this part for now. Jody, can you help me out? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going, all right? And so you can hear. So okay, forget that. We're just gonna not do the middle. But so here I have my sketch. Finish the sketch, and then I'll just extrude this. Symmetric value. Let's do this to like 5. Okay, so here I have a block now, right? And as you can see, if I go back to my assembly and change the expressions, like width 2, which is this back one there, so I change this to 32, then the entire, so now you can see the geometry updates because the sketch was constrained to the assembly to the wave down line. So when that wave down line changes, so when the line changes in the assembly, the wave down line changes, and then the sketch will therefore change, and the geometry will change. Does that make sense? Okay. So there's one more thing I want to show you guys, and then I'll just have you go, and we'll be able to answer any individual questions. If I'm in, so not only can you wave down geometry, but you can also wave down parameters. So if I go, so now this is the work part, right? That piece. So if I go to expression, I don't have any parameters in this work part. However, I can pull one down from the assembly, and so if it ever changes the assembly, it'll change here. So that's a similar button. Remember the chain? So here's another one, inner part reference. So if you click on this, it'll bring up a list of which parts you want to pull it from. So usually you're going to do your assembly. Okay, and then it now has a list of all these parameters, all these expressions, right, that are in the assembly. So if I want to pull down, well, length, the line is already constrained to length, but if I wanted to pull this down directly, I just hit OK, and then here's this showing the file path. I think Dr. Jensen even talks about this and mentions how to do this in the lecture. So, and you can name it yourself. So I'm going to name this length. Apply. So now I have my own called length, but it is constrained to a higher thing. So if I ever want to make something and constrain it to that parameter, then the parameter that exists in a higher level in something in the assembly, you just wave down the parameter and then you link your geometry, your sketch, or whatever to that expression or parameter, and then it will, so if it ever changes up top at the assembly level, it'll also change down below. Okay, does anyone have a question with that? All right, so in your groups, just break out, decide who's gonna make what part, and then just kind of go for it. It's not real strict, like there's no real measurements of what to do, how big to make it. Just make it so it looks pretty similar to what the drawing is, and that's pretty much good. Remember, the point of this is learning and practicing waving down geometry, parameters, expressions, so that you can make this robust. All right? Okay.
In here, and then once we have created, we hover it before.
Are we gonna do like one main assembly and then sub assemblies?
Okay, I'm going to hang up the Skype call now. But if you have any questions, then just feel free just to call. That way we'll know that you have questions. Okay? Okay.